All you have to do is look at footage from within Israel itself. Jews are brutalized by the fascist police for daring to speak out against the regime. The anti-Semitism charge obviously doesn't work anymore. So the liberals have fallen back on what they do best, weaponizing vague feelings. The main objection to rallies for Palestine now is that it makes people feel uncomfortable or unsafe on college campuses in the West. Here's an example that's been making the rounds online.
They want him dead. Please end it, please.
Aside from the fact that those are the most obvious fake tears you've ever seen, I want you to think about the absurdity of this display. Claiming to feel unsafe in your insular little university versus this.
مين بدك مين بدك؟
أمي مع أخويا.
طيب أنت إيش؟
أخويا أبو نسرة كمان.
That's what unsafe looks like. You feel uncomfortable? Think about how uncomfortable it is to have no food or clean water, no shelter, no hygiene products, your family killed, the places you've been told will be safe purposefully targeted with bombing runs. Liberals have no right to cry crocodile tears and pretend to feel unsafe. Of course, they'll still do it, and sometimes it will work. There are very few weapons as dangerous as a white woman's tears, as minorities have learned the hard way throughout history. Enough pretend fear and they get what they want. In this case, the criminalizing of solidarity with the people currently being exterminated. I made a tweet the other day that said, "One thing that's been bothering me recently is that I have no power to make liberals care. I can say, I will never again speak to someone who still supports Israel, but what good is that? The hate and powerlessness I feel is something I haven't experienced before." I had one commenter respond with something I think is important to share. This is how colonized people have felt forever. Liberals act like they care, but they don't. They really, really don't. And their fake performative caring actually makes it way worse. At least right-wingers are honest. That's a great point. And it echoes what Malcolm X said half a century ago. Liberals are no better than conservatives. They're often even more bloodthirsty, as we've seen with their recent behavior. The only thing that separates a liberal servant of empire from a conservative one is that the liberal will lie through their teeth to make it seem like they're on your side. At least
Welcome to a Friday edition of RBN Fridays. That's weird to say, but welcome to RBN Fridays. I'm your host for today. I'm CJ. Let me do a sound check. Everything sounds good? Let me know in the comments if there's any issues, but this is RBN Fridays with CJ. Don't do this often. I'm actually coming online today because tomorrow, which a couple of times a month, I usually do a stream on Saturdays, but I won't be able to do that tomorrow. So let me come on today with the topics I have today, and we're gonna cover a lot of things today, but it's still sort of a central issue. It's still sort of tied to Palestine, the establishment, or the U.S. empire. Let me just throw up the graphic here. So if you didn't know, I think it's Perelman, is running again. And one of the top reasons she gives for running is the people in Gaza. But she's running as a Democrat, the party that's funding Gaza. Funding the genocide in Gaza. So we'll talk about that. Katie Porter. Now, RBN have never been a fan of her. Katie Porter is in the same. We put her slightly better than a John Fetterman, maybe, but she is quite terrible. But in the same mode as most terrible liberals. And moving on, there's Charles Barkley right there. If you didn't know who that was, that's Charles Barkley. And Barkley recently said he had to walk it back, but he recently said he wanted to either fight or punch black Trump supporters. And I don't know if he knows, but Mike Tyson supports Donald Trump. I wonder, would you punch Mike Tyson, Charles Barkley? That's a wonder. And then DL Hughley is right there with the white beard, and then to his right is DJ Khaled. Those DL Hughley, who normally I would be critiquing because he's part of the Democratic establishment, but he's I wouldn't say he's part of the Democratic establishment. He's willing to team up with the Democratic establishment. That's a better way of describing it. But anyway, he goes at DJ Khaled. I think that's how you say it. Because DJ Khaled, if you know who he is, he's a famous DJ. He works with the top people in the hip hop industry, from Rick Ross to Rihanna to Jay-Z to, I mean, you just name it. Like, that's the guy. And he's Palestinian. With all the millions he has, do you think he's on Front Street being an advocate and an advocate for the Palestinians in Gaza? Absolutely not. So those are actually, let me see if there's any other story. Let me see. Those are the graphic stories, the stories we're going to be getting from the graphics. And of course, what's not on the graphic, we're going to cover the Biden State of the Union, but from the perspective of the protesters. So we're going to be covering the State of the Union protests. We're going to also cover. So as Biden wants in the State of the Union, Biden mentioned that he wants to build a port on the coast of Gaza. There was just a report that came out, I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago. Joe Biden made 100 secret weapons sales to Israel that just came out. So the guy is doing the same thing that the U.S. regime wants to do, which is team up with this genocidal state. They're doing the same thing, but they want to project, in other words, lie to part of their base to pretend like, look what we're doing stuff. But meanwhile, he's sending 100 secret weapon sales to Israel. So anyway, all of these items we're going to try to get to today. Make sure you hit that like button if you are watching from anywhere that you can like. So if you're on Twitch, you can like. If you're on Twitter, you can like. If you want, you can give thumbs up on Twitter. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on Facebook, you can give likes and thumbs up. So let's get us to 800 likes. Let me tell you how the breakdown is. We got, let's see here. Where are we at? So on YouTube, so combined, we have 642 people watching. And that's over all of the platforms except for Rumble. And on Rumble, we have 80 people watching. So roughly about 700 people watching across all platforms. On YouTube, let's get to 800 likes. And now we're going to get back to the presentation. I don't think I have any super chats. Let me make sure. Oh, I got one. So let me shout out the super chat first. I think a lot of liberals believe their fear and sadness. So it is not pretending. It is just being self-absorbed. So I take the point, and that is, thank you for the super chat, John Freeze, a regular. And I agree. There are some people who are really, who have come under progressives, who are really feeling anguish and sympathy for what's happening. So you have that group, and then you have the group that's just virtue signaling. But the reason I put them in the same category is because it's the same tangible result. You get what I'm saying? It's the same tangible result, which is you teaming up with the Democratic Party, which is supporting the genocide. So whether you have real sympathy for them or not is irrelevant if the team you choose to pick is the Democrats. That's the point. But thank you for the super chat. Let's get into it. I'm going to start this video. This is Second Thought. I used to do Second Thought videos all the time back maybe a year and a half ago. And just, began to do other things, kind of plateaued on all the things that all the main sort of streams or clips that he put up, and I thought I went through them all. But since it's been a year and a half, he has a ton of stuff, and this one I saw because it fits with the stories we're talking about today. So let's play it from the beginning. I skipped over the intro where he shouts out Patreon, and then I'm going to skip another part in a second here.
That over the past few years, I have been gravely disappointed with the white moderate. I have almost reached the regrettable conclusion that the Negro's great stumbling block in his stride toward freedom is not the white citizens' counselor or the Ku Klux Klaner, but the white moderate, who is more devoted to order than to justice, who prefers a negative peace, which is the absence of tension, to a positive peace, which is the presence of justice, who constantly says, I agree with you in the goal you seek, but I cannot agree with your methods of direct action, who paternalistically believes he can set the timetable for another man's freedom.
That white person that you see calling himself a liberal is the most dangerous thing in the entire Western Hemisphere. He's the most deceitful. He's like a fox. And a fox is always more dangerous in the forest than the wolf. You can see the wolf coming. You know what he's up to. But the fox will fool you. He comes at you with his mouth shaped in such a way that even though you see his teeth, you think he's smiling and taking for a friend.
Wow, he included Vouch right there. Awesome.
Rolling. Okay, let's go. Over the past 5 months, just about everyone I know has come to the same conclusion. Dyed-in-the-wool liberals are as much the enemy of normal, decent people as conservatives are. And when I say liberal, I don't mean your average Joe who likes Harry Potter and Marvel movies and doesn't really think about politics outside of election years.
Will you shut up, man?
I mean the people who love Harry Potter and Marvel movies and also go out of their way to scold Palestinians for resisting their own extermination. People who demand you condemn Hamas while refusing to acknowledge that history didn't begin on October 7th. People who split their time evenly between rewatching...
Now, what have we noticed? I'm going to stop it here on this part. Because what have we noticed from a lot of progressives, like Dr. Cornel West, like Crystal Ball? They all have a condemnation for Hamas. But then you have radicals like Ajamu, like Margaret Kimberly. And dare to say, I don't know if Scott Ritter is a radical, but on here, on our network, he doesn't view Hamas as a terrorist organization, neither do we. And he views them just in line with international law, which is if you're being occupied, according to international law, you can resist your occupier, including armed resistance. But just like, and I'm using liberal and progressive interchangeable. So you hear them say liberal in the video and in Martin Luther King and MLK. But to me, the updated name for that person is progressive. Now, there are some people who would call themselves liberals. That's really like an old school sort of term. You don't really see people maybe under 40 kind of use the term liberal to self-describe. That's usually because that's a term more of liberals was like liberals kind of meant what progressives used to mean during the first the first Bernie campaign in 2015. Liberals of the 70s was sort of the progressives of that era. They were kind of on the same wavelength. I would say that progressives have regressed since the first Bernie campaign. I think the progressive Democrats have regressed. I mean, just look at what's his name, what's his name? The guy who just got elected, Max Frost. Now, shouldn't the new squad members that are being elected, shouldn't they be to the left of AOC, Jamal Bowman? But it seems like AOC in that class was the most radical. They're not radical, but they were the most radical. And then the class that came after them, the Cori Bushes, especially the Jamal Bowmans, they sold out very quickly. Then Max Frost sold out quicker than anyone. I did a stream on this. So to the point that I'm making, progressives are moving backwards. They're regressing. Let's get back to the video. He makes a lot of good points. I'll be stopping and starting here and there.
Watching Hamilton and calling anyone who criticizes Joe Biden a Russian troll or a Chinese spy. I think you know the type. But just so we're on the same page before we go any further, let me be extra clear. Liberalism is the default ideology in the imperial core. The average person ends up with a liberal perspective by osmosis. There is a pipeline from simply existing in the empire to becoming a rabid servant of the empire. And if you feel like this is an attack on you personally,
a rabid servant of the empire, isn't that what you would describe Bernie Sanders? Isn't that what you would describe AOC's Ro Khanna? This is why I put progressives in the same category as what they're using as to refer to as liberals. And in this context, he actually could be also including them in this dynamic, but choosing to use liberal.
Personally, please don't feel that way. Everyone should be capable of changing their perspective when presented with new
evidence. And to the point I just made about him meaning the same thing, he does. And because look who he showed in the edit. He showed AOC, he showed Bernie Sanders when they were in the part of the video where it was Malcolm X's voice, but you saw Bernie Sanders, AOC flash on the screen.
New evidence. If you're not, that's a good sign you may have been indoctrinated into a dangerous ideology. But that's what this video is about. I'm going to give you just a little bit of evidence that Western liberals are a tremendous force for evil. And contrary to what they want you to believe, they absolutely do not care about truth, justice, peace, or progress. Let's start with the civil rights era. A lot of Americans today erroneously believe that when Dr. King came onto the scene, he magically opened everyone's eyes and ended racism. Sure, things were bad back then, but his words were so moving that everyone put down their pitchforks and agreed that we were all equal. And of course, the white liberals were marching hand in hand with black Americans to forge a path to a brighter future. While MLK did have a profound way with words, and there were indeed a number of white Americans who marched for equal rights, this simplified view of the civil rights era is exceptionally misleading. Martin Luther King is one of the most co-opted figures in modern history. Everyone tries to claim him for their particular set of beliefs. I made a whole video about how history whitewashes black radicals. But the thing about these people waxing poetic about how great King was is that 90% of the time, they would have hated the man had they lived in the same era. Think about your family members today and how they reacted to the Black Lives Matter rallies and protests. If they're anything like my family, you probably heard some pretty ignorant, hateful statements. The same exact thing happened in Dr. King's time. Police brutality, rampant racism, and constant attempts to misconstrue what the movement was really about. The thing that always concretizes that fact for me is this comic, by the white moderate cartoonist Charles Brooks. King talking to a reporter with the city destroyed in the background and some white people lying on the ground. And King saying, I plan to lead another in
this comic, the city is destroyed and white people are on the ground. We've all seen the footage of hoses and dogs being sick, but this comic wants to put white people on the ground in his drawing. It's amazing.
Nonviolent march tomorrow. This is exactly what we see today. Liberals get uncomfortable and suddenly they're not for equal rights anymore. Or more accurately, they still say they are, but they just have some concerns about optics. That's not how you're supposed to protest. Why can't everyone just protest peacefully?
Isn't that what AOC is saying? a certain way to protest, especially when you're protesting her?
Why? So you can ignore it? The entire point of protest is to be disruptive. But even if we put that aside, no one wants to have to protest. They want things to change with as little friction as possible. But that's just not how things work when the oppressor class likes their position, and that position is dependent upon subjugating another class. It's like Castro said during the Cuban Revolution.
That's really the point to make against sort of progressives and liberals. The idea that an empire that's willing to kill 500,000 Iraqi kids, an empire that's willing to fund a genocide, but progressives want us to believe that all they have to do is play nice with these genocidal maniacs, and then we'll get health care. It is so illogical. It's amazing that's coming from the professional managerial class. Let's continue.
The people did not choose the path of armed struggle. It was the path that was forced upon them. Same with Palestine. The number of tweets I've seen from liberals saying, I don't understand why they can't just peacefully protest, is insane. And every single time, someone claps back with a different instance of Palestinians peacefully organizing and being killed all the same. By the time King penned his letter from Birmingham jail, which you heard some of at the beginning of this video, he had become disenchanted with white northern liberals, who had earlier in his career been his greatest source of white support. But when King started talking about systemic issues that intersected with racism, such as economic inequality, these liberals started to squirm.
Now, when we start talking about wiping the state of Israel off the map, then progressive... I just don't want the people who are being occupied and oppressed to die from bombs. I still want the same system in place. I'm trying not to stop it so much. This video was triggering when I watched
jail, which you heard some of at the beginning of this video, he had become disenchanted with white northern liberals, who had earlier in his career been his greatest source of white support. But when King started talking about systemic issues that intersected with racism, such as economic inequality, these liberals started to squirm. The comfortable whites who looked down on the southern yokels for their ignorance and racism were now in the hot seat themselves. They benefited from a two-tiered society in which liberal elites were at the top.
Now, is this not the description of Dr. Cornel West? Willing to do critiques, but not to go too far, because he benefits from the structure that's already in place. Same with the crystal balls and the breaking points. Same with the Sam Cedars and the majority reports. Same with the Cenk Uygurs and the TYTs. The police state is a perfect example of that. When we start talking about defund the police, AOC, I don't know, Bernie Sanders, well. They're part of the class that believes the police state keeps all the pores away from us. Let's continue. I think I need to replace the battery in my mouse. It's slowing down here.
And so the complaint about optics was born. Look, Dr. King, we support your ideals, but the way you're protesting just isn't okay. This is the way liberals operate. They support emancipation movements in theory, but as soon as it crosses into the realm of the material, they become no different than conservatives.
Let's apply this to the election, and I'm going to replay it. So as I replay this last maybe 20 seconds of what he says, apply that in the way that I said.
It just isn't okay. This is the way liberals operate. They support emancipation movements in theory, but as soon as it crosses into the realm of the material, they become no different than conservatives.
they become no different than conservatives. Now, I can apply this to so many things. What sticks out to me about liberals, progressives, sort of falling in line with the establishment talking point that is very right wing, it's immigration, and we're going to get to that. The when Joe Biden uses the term illegals. Anyway, so that I don't get on a tangent, and because we're maybe 30% through the video, let's play some more.
If violent protest is illegal and nonviolent protest gets your liberal supposed supporters to condemn your movement, what recourse do you have to effect change? There's a reason imperial core countries are actively trying to criminalize various forms of protest.
Think about that. How do we affect change? How do we affect change through this system, through the two parties? Let's do it that way. How do we affect change through the two parties? What have progressives decided to do? Team up with one of the capitalist parties, and are they delivering on promises? Are they delivering on progressive policies?
Supporters to condemn your movement. What recourse do you have to effect change?
What recourse do you have to affect change outside of the Democratic Party? That's essentially, actually, I'm going to let him make the point because I'm jumping ahead. So let him make the point, and then I'll say.
There's a reason imperial core countries are actively trying to criminalize various forms of protest. They have a vested interest in things remaining the same. As Kwame Ture said in his 1969 book, The Pitfalls of Liberalism, what a liberal really wants is to bring about change which will not in any way endanger his position. That is, of course, impossible when we're talking about fixing the system.
Wants to bring about change without endangering his position. Dr. Cornel West wants to bring the U.S. empire down, but doesn't want to run in the Green Party and be on 40-plus ballots because he's going to get all of his PMC class attacking him. He won't be invited to luncheons. He won't be invited to corporate media to talk about the empire, to chummy it up with Anderson Cooper.
Said in his 1969 book, The Pitfalls of Liberalism, what a liberal really wants is to bring about change which will not in any way endanger his position. That is, of course, impossible when we're talking about fixing the systemic problems of racism, imperialism, and economic inequality. According to a 1966 Harris poll, King's favorable rating among white Americans was just 27%. Compare that to 95% today. That's how liberals operate.
Like that? 25% when he's actively doing the stuff, meaning the civil rights movement, all the protests, 25%. But now those same people who was giving him 25%, who a lot of them are still alive because he could possibly be still alive or at the end of life at this moment. So who are still alive, now he has 95% magically. Same with Muhammad Ali. They hated his guts. But now you would think that they've been loving him ever since he was called Cassius Clay.
They oppose any attempts at emancipation while they're happening, then pretend they were always on the side of the righteous when they have the benefit of history books telling them who the good guys were. There's a great tweet that really sums up this liberal tendency. A liberal is someone who opposes every war except the current war and supports all civil rights movements except the one going on right now.
That is exactly, that's very similar to what I said in a Nick and CJ stream, is that, and this was in the context of talking about Marianne Williamson. I said the same thing. Liberals, and at that time I was calling her a liberal, but progressive liberal, whatever you want to call it, liberals are never against the current war. They're always against past wars that have already ended, or wars that public sentiment has flipped. Like they're in the rear view. They might not be the newest war, but they're in the rear view. Those are the ones that they feel comfortable with coming out against the establishment. Now that everybody's saying Iraq war was terrible, now they're coming out and saying it. But I remember during that time, I was working for AT&T, and I was on the side not buying invading Iraq. I could not mention it. My boss at the AT&T store, I remember it was all guys that worked at this. It was like 10 of us. He would walk around watching news and saying, "Yeah, these fucking people. If you don't support the Iraq war, get the fuck out of this country." You thought I was gonna say something to him? You thought I was gonna bring up my position at that time? But now everybody knows the Iraq war is bad now somehow. This is what liberals do. Progressives.
There's a great tweet that really sums up this liberal tendency. A liberal is someone who opposes every war except the current war and supports all civil rights movements except the one going on right now. Now, while MLK was outspoken in his disappointment with white liberals, Malcolm X went to critical steps.
And let me give you an example of what he's saying here. Support the current, but not the past. I just forgot what I was going to say. Let me see if I can get it back.
Further, and correctly labeled them an enemy of genuine progress and liberation. The conservatives are wolves. You know what they're up to. They're evil and they're honest. Not because they care about being honest, but because they're not afraid to wield power when they have it. The liberal is a fox. Less outwardly threatening, even seemingly approachable, but still a predator. A conservative will usually be open about their racism and how they need to keep the dirty foreigners out. Whereas a liberal will say things like, "I see you. I hear you. Hate has no place here."
What does that even mean? And this is what liberals, they're very good at saying a whole bunch of stuff that doesn't say anything. I see you. I hear you. Hate has no place here. You tell me, what does that mean?
And then they'll run campaign ads about how conservatives are failing to secure the southern border. But
he said, they say I'm with the immigrants. I'm with the dreamers. Now he's talking about getting rid of asylum. Now he's calling undocumented illegals. That's Joe Biden. And then AOC, Bernie Sanders, and all the other progressives fall right in line, not saying anything about the progressive policies, possibly mildly critiquing it in a social media post. But let's continue.
Biden hasn't stopped building Trump's wall. That should tell you everything you need to know about the liberal approach to immigration. Pretend you're deeply concerned, and then do the same thing the conservatives are doing. Or take the genocide in Gaza. We've seen a handful of the more liberal Democrats speak out against what Israel is doing, which is no small feat for a politician in the United States. But then when push comes to shove, they do the evil thing anyway. As I'm writing this script, every single Senate Democrat just voted to continue funding the genocide in Gaza. Every single one. It's like the meme. The people on the receiving end of US militarism don't care whether the people who sent the bombs are deeply concerned about it. They're still sending the bombs. Socialists like me tend to joke about Democrats just being Republicans with a rainbow flag painted on their bombers.
Yeah.
But it's absolutely true. The liberals' only objection to imperialism and global domination is on aesthetic grounds. They may say they're cool with gay people, but they're still going to turn the rest of the world to glass if it means maintaining our hegemony.
So this is a great point that he's making. Who have Nick and I said the Bernie Sanders industrial complex are willing to throw under the bus? Before this genocide, we said that. They're willing to throw Palestinians under the bus in order to sit at the kids' table in the Democratic Party. What they're willing to sell out. They'll sell you out in the police state. They did that. I'll rewind it slightly and continue.
Still sending the bombs. Socialists like me tend to joke about Democrats just being Republicans with a rainbow flag painted on their bombs. That's who they are. But it's absolutely true. The liberals' only objection to imperialism and global domination is on aesthetic grounds. They may say they're cool with gay people, but they're still going to turn the rest of the world to glass if it means maintaining our hegemony. A good example
of this meaningless
Listen to this about For Real. When Pharrell recently sent Trump a cease and desist to stop Trump from using his songs at rallies. And then he turned around and performed at a fundraising gala for the IDF. The people who killed 11...
So he sends a cease and desist, not to play the song "Cause I'm Happy," that song. But then he performs at an IDF event. Oh God, these people are just terrible people.
11,000 children in the past few months, who have targeted doctors saving injured people, journalists trying to show the world what's happening, the people who blindfolded a man, told him to run, and then sniped him in the back of the head. Okay, celebrities being useless is one thing, but when you have a liberal world leader, that's when things get really dangerous. Take Trudeau, for example. In response to one of the many ongoing protests for Palestine in Canada, on February 13th, he posted the following on Twitter. The demonstration at Mount Sinai Hospital yesterday was reprehensible. Hospitals are places for treatment and care, not protest and intimidation. I strongly condemn this display of anti-Semitism. In Toronto and across Canada, we stand with Jewish communities against this hate. This is insane. If you've been online at all in the last 5 months, you'll know where I'm going with this. Justin Trudeau, liberal darling, has supported to the hilt the Israeli apartheid regime, which has bombed every single hospital in Gaza out of operation. Not only that, these monsters also dressed as doctors and nurses and infiltrated a hospital to shoot and terrorize the patients and heroic staff inside. To the liberal, walking outside a hospital and demanding justice is a bridge too far. But butchering an entire population because it serves the interest of capital is perfectly acceptable. The justification for statements like Trudeau's has always been opposing anti-Semitism. That obviously doesn't work anymore. It's an absurd claim to make that criticizing a genocidal apartheid regime is anti-Semitic. And it's become even more clearly absurd now that we've seen hundreds of thousands of Jewish people around the world stand up against Israel's ethnic cleansing campaign and say, "You do not represent us." All you have to do is look at footage from within Israel itself. Jews are brutalized by the fascist police for daring to speak out against the regime. The anti-Semitism charge obviously doesn't work anymore. So the liberals have fallen back on what they do best, weaponizing vague feelings. The main objection to rallies for Palestine now is that it makes people feel uncomfortable or unsafe on college campuses in the West. Here's an example that's been making the rounds online.
They want us dead. Please end it, please.
Aside from the fact that those are the most obvious fake
Cries
tears
from
you've ever seen,
protests.
I want you to
Does
think
that?
about the absurdity of this display. Claiming to feel unsafe in your insular little university versus this.
مين بدك مين بدك؟
أمي مع أخويا.
طيب انت ايش
أخويا أبو نسرة كمان.
This shit is so fucking hard for me to watch what's happening to these kids. This little boy who is very close in my youngest age, having to take care of his other siblings because of what's happening here. So I'm going to slightly move it back so you can see. This is fucking terrible. You see, he's taking care of another sibling right here.
أخويا أبو نسرة كمان.
Oh, God.
That's what unsafe looks like. You feel uncomfortable? Think about how uncomfortable it is to have no food or clean water, no shelter, no hygiene products, your family killed, the places you've been told will be safe purposefully targeted with bombing runs. Liberals have no right to cry crocodile tears and pretend to feel unsafe. Of course, they'll still do it, and sometimes it will work. There are very few weapons as dangerous as a white woman's tears, as minorities have learned the hard way throughout history. Enough pretend fear and they get what they want. In this case, the criminalizing of solidarity with the people currently being exterminated. I made a tweet the other day that said, "One thing that's been bothering me recently is that I have no power to make liberals care. I can say, I will never again speak to someone who still supports Israel, but what good is that? The hate and powerlessness I feel is something I haven't experienced before." I had one commenter respond with something I think is important to share. "This is how colonized people have felt forever. Liberals act like they care, but they don't. They really, really don't. And their fake performative caring actually makes it way worse. At least right-wingers are honest." That's a great point.
Yeah.
And it echoes what Malcolm X said half a century ago.
It
Liberals
makes
are
it
no better.
It makes it way worse. Similar to what Jimmy Dore said. It's worse to think you have somebody on the inside fighting for you who is just part of the establishment, i.e. AOC Bernie Sanders. How's that Medicare for all going with AOC? Yet she's fine with funding the Iron Dome now. But she's progressive.
Than conservatives. They're often even more bloodthirsty, as we've seen with their recent behavior. The only thing that separates a liberal servant of empire from a conservative one is that the liberal will lie through their teeth to make it seem like they're on your side.
Liberals will lie through their teeth to make it seem like they're on your side. I just wanted to use this video as a baseline for the rest of the conversation. So I'm going to take this one down here and now move to the next story, because where's part of this? Jen Perelman, I think that's how you say it, is running for office again. And let me bring it up. She tweets out like why she's doing this, and she actually goes on Kim Iverson's show. So I may play that too. She actually goes on the Kim Iverson show, and I should have knew something was up when I saw her on the Kim Iverson show. I didn't find out later that she was running again until later. But let's go to the next segment, or the next storyline in this overall story of progressives being the most dangerous thing in the Western Hemisphere. And we're gonna go to where is it? Oh, right here. Okay, so this is the tweet that Jen Perelman, I think that's how you say it, Perelman, something like that, put out. So let's read. "There are many reasons to try this one more time against Debbie Wasserman Schultz, that is. The biggest is Gaza. So Gaza is what's making her run again, and she decides to run again as a Democrat? So is she serious about Gaza, or is she serious about getting power and using Gaza to get said power? I continue. "I cannot sit on the sidelines at a time when so many are suffering." Let me tell you something. You don't have to sit on the sidelines, and you also don't have to get in Congress. Being in Congress isn't the most effective way to help the Palestinians, especially being in the Democratic Party. She goes on to say, "So here we are, Jan 2024. This is such a lackluster announcement," and the same was with her video. But this is the part. Actually, this is the part that gets me. Your biggest reason is running is for Gaza, but you're going to run and join a party that's facilitating said genocide in Gaza. What exactly does that do? Let me explain how it is counterproductive to put progressives in office on a Democratic team when they have no power and no say. We're just giving power to the leadership of the Democratic Party by adding more people to their team. Adding more people, even progressive, to the Democratic Party team adds more people for the leadership who aren't progressives to execute their neoliberal plan. That's what it does. So you put Jamal Bowman, you put AOC in, you put even, let's say, Jim Perelman in. They're all, Cori Bush there. They're all in there. So now the Democrats have 200 and, I'm just picking a number. Now the Democrats have 230 people in the House. Then 220. 220 keeps it very close. We have to do a lot of negotiation. 230, they could do whatever the fuck they want. And you're giving them that power by voting in progressives. They don't care if it's, they do care. The Democratic establishment do care. They would rather a moderate, but a body's a body. A number's a number. Let's continue. All right, so let me get to the video part of this. Actually, he puts the video over here. So let me get to the video part of this. The announcement. Like I said, it's almost like she's not even seriously running because she doesn't, hang on a second. She doesn't, it's such a lackluster announcement of her candidacy. Like you saw the tweet. And then now that I'm about to show you the video, you're going to see how this is so lackluster. What happened? This shit does this all the time. All right, let's go back here. All right, so it's large, and I'm going to forward it a little bit from the countdown here.
General election. And quite honestly, if it's ever...
And I want to pinpoint it at the exact time she goes live here, because they make the announcement like right away, and it's like I said, there's no fanfare behind it. There's no anything behind it. So I guess I gotta let this 19 seconds play out. It doesn't let me skip closer to the end, but right when they start, she goes right into her spiel, and you saw what they're wearing. Like I wear a shirt like that sometimes to go to bed. What she's wearing. But she's wearing it for her announcement, and let's listen to that.
And we're live.
Hello!
La, la, la. Hello, all. Welcome to a very strange Wednesday evening generational change. I'm Ken.
I'm Peter, and well, yeah, and I guess that's one way to kick it off. But, every donation counts, right?
Every donation counts, but, the money's always appreciated.
Now, remember that any donation that you make is actually to generational change. It's not a campaign.
Anything that this is generational change, guys. So, if you're making a donation to us here, it goes to generational change. And we like that too. That helps us as well. So honestly, we're appreciative for you guys just being here.
Happy to have you here, Lisette. Appreciate your so this was...
So apparently, given the amount of people that are here for us to start on a random Wednesday, apparently everybody knows.
A lot of people know. So what
everybody knows.
I hate when we say you, because I really think this is more like almost like how contemporary partners say we're pregnant. Like, how like they do that. I
think that's disgusting.
Well, I think it's weird, but I'm going to be like contemporary. So we're running for Congress.
Hard to watch, but let's get through it together.
So I'm running against Debbie Wasserman Schultz in Florida's 25th district in the Democratic primary, and there's that.
Yeah, it's
I'll just sit with that for a bit.
It's going to be a very interesting 5.5 months.
I know Ron's not over. I said that to Peter. I said Ron is still on. I don't want to pull.
We couldn't switch our stream. We didn't think.
And and the thing is Colin is working both shows.
Yeah, he is. Even though he
Colin's the
doesn't have,
best,
even though he
guys.
doesn't have enough to do already, you know.
Colin's the best, and seriously, like the money that we get on generational change is really enough to basically help pay Colin and another person that does some shorts for us, like a pittance. Colin is, most of what he does is really because he just wants to help.
Yeah, we'll go for a little
Because
while because the assumption is that, you know, Status Quo will go for like another 15, 20 minutes. And then when that stream ends,
Yeah,
the
we're not wanting to
recommendation-
interfere. Go back and listen to what Ron is
the
saying.
recommendation will be sent over to our channel.
I'm playing this babbling on purpose. This is her announcement. So tell me, is this a serious campaign? You saw the tweet to announce her campaign. You're watching the stream that announces her campaign. Based on those, do you think this is a serious push? Or is this just a version of what Marianne Williamson is doing? I don't know why she would think she's going to win a second time when she has lost support. After that first race, she had several incidents that people kind of was off on her. She made several statements. She's going to have less support this time against a ghoul like Debbie Wasserman Schultz. You can go back and watch the rest of the announcement. I wanted to play it to make a point. This is their announcement video. Tells you she's not seriously running for the office. But let's move on to the next part and talking about these progressives and why they're so dangerous. The next progressive I want to bring up, what's her name? Katie. Yeah. Katie Porter. So Katie Porter is a progressive. I would put her in the sort of the progressive as a Ayanna Pressley. Like, people don't really view her as progressive, but she kind of just hangs out with progressives. Katie Porter, let me scroll all the way down here. Katie Porter, who is a progressive out of California, believe it or not, she recently decided to run for Senate in California to fill the Dianne Feinstein seat. She ran, I think Karen Bass. Is it Karen Bass? I can't remember which black progressive ran. And Adam Schiff ran, and a Republican. I'm going to get his name in a second. A Republican ran. So being part of the Democratic Party, Katie Porter has to know what the Democratic Party does. She has to know what the Democratic Party did to Bernie Sanders twice. She has to know that. She has to know that the DNC decided not to hold primaries this election cycle, which is rigging the election. She has to know that the DNC pushed up South Carolina to the forefront of the beginning of the primary season in order to rig the election. So she hasn't heard of any of this. Progressives, as long as it's not happening to them, they have no critique of that. But when they lay it on you, Katie Porter, now you have a lot to say. Here's the headline from The Hill. Rep. Katie Porter doubles down on claim that the California Senate race was rigged by billionaires after she lost the chance to advance to the general election. Let's read a little bit of this article. I'm going to bring this down so we can just read, not a lot, but a little bit of it to get the details. And then we're going to get into some more video content to play. Oops, share. All right, so here, Porter doubles down on claim California Senate race was rigged by billionaires after loss. She actually tweeted out something along these lines too. And the Democratic and the cowbell left Democrats, like the people who support the Democrats, they're all throughout there saying, I can't believe you doing this. What are you doing? You must be a Trump supporter. Yeah, That's Katie Porter. Let's read a little bit of this article. How do I close this off? Close this off. Close this off. All right. What the fuck is happening? Oh, wait a second here. I have a pop-up I need to close. I know you can't see it. All right, now it's closed. All right, so here we where did I go? All right, now we go. Maybe you guys could see it now because I'm watching it on TV also. You guys could see the little pop-up. All right, so here we go. Katie Porter is doubling down on her claim that California's Senate race was rigged by billionaires after she lost the chance to advance to the general election. Here's the quote. "Thank you to everyone who supported our campaign and voted to shake up the status quo in Washington. Because of you, we had the establishment running scared. Withstanding 3-1 in TV spending and an onslaught of billionaires spending millions to rig this election." Porter said, what the fuck is going on with these pop-ups here? Fuck. All right, let's try this again and see what the hell is going on here. It's just I'm not clicking anything and it's just pushing through to another page. So anyway, so let's get back to the article here. Let's see if we can get through this without it happening again. All right, this is where we left off. Rigged means manipulated by dishonest means. Porter said it. Okay. All right, this is getting a little bit much here. All right, let's okay. What is anything gonna happen now? I got that off the all right, let's see how this goes. All right, so here we go. "Thank you to everyone who supported our campaign and voted to shake up the status quo in Washington. Because of you, we had the establishment running scared, withstanding 3-1 in TV spending and an onslaught of billionaires spending millions to rig this election," Porter said in a post on X, formerly Twitter, after the race was called. And she went on to say, "Rigged means manipulated by dishonest means." Porter said in a separate Thursday statement after facing online blowback for her choice of words, arguing a few billionaires spent millions on attack ads against her in the race. Quote, "That is dishonest means to manipulate the outcome. I said rigged by billionaires, and our politics are in fact manipulated by big dark money." Now listen to how she when the blowback came, she went back to her establishment position. Hold on, guys. I don't mean the Democratic Party is rigging the elections. Random billionaires are doing it. The spinelessness and the lack of fight in progressive is just disgusting to me. Let's go to the next thing here. I don't need to read any more of that because in the where is it? Katie Porter right here. In the rest of my presentation, there's going to be a lot of what's covered in the article covered here. So let's go to those tweets that they're talking about in the article that you saw. Let's go to the tweets. Here's one that Jank, what is it called? Quote tweets. Let's read. Jank says, let's read this the original tweet first. So Katie Porter tweeted this, and I read it in the article, but she says, "Thank you to everyone who supported our campaign and voted to shake up the status quo in Washington, D.C. Because of you, we had the establishment running scared, withstanding 3-1 and the TV ads," right? She says that this guy, Andy K, I don't know how to say his last name. Kaczynski, maybe that's how you say it. She lost by 20 points, but is saying the election is rigged because she was outspent. Jank comes to the rescue and says, yes, brother, that's how every election is rigged. And none of you on CNN noticed 95% of elections are decided by who has more money. In more legalized, i.e. more legalized bribes from corporate donors, yet you guys never report on who is bribing our politicians and how corrupt the entire system is. And Jank, just like you, Andy is part of the establishment. And if he goes too far, just like you know, because you do the same thing, the establishment will completely destroy you. Now, let's go here. Fox News talks about this from Katie Porter. Of course, they're always talking about, they're wanting to exaggerate or exacerbate is a better word. Any type of discourse or any type of disagreement in the Democratic Party on the left, they want to bring on those people to exacerbate that. So let's listen. I'm basically saying they're not covering it from a news point of view. They're covering it from they want to exacerbate the situation.
While Adam Schiff spent $10 million essentially elevating Steve Garvey to put it, because in California they got the top 2 tier.
So Adam Schiff spends $10 million to elevate Steve Garvey, a Republican, because how it works in California, regardless of party, the 2 top people who get votes move on to a runoff or to, the actual election. So you could actually have 2 Democrats in November running against each other. Like it could have been Katie Porter and Adam Schiff. Adam Schiff didn't want that. He didn't want Gaza looming and then Katie Porter, the person who virtue signals about Israel, running against him, or even the other black progressive that's in the race with him. I forget her name. What's her name? But anyway, let's listen. I'm going to rewind it. Let's listen to what they say on Fox News.
While Adam Schiff spent $10 million essentially elevating Steve Garvey to put it, because in California they got the top 2 tier primary system. So because he didn't want to run against Katie Porter, very popular with progressives in California. So Katie Porter realized, wait a minute, Porter that is to say, she realized, hey, Adam Schiff is making a lot of hay there. So they started supporting another Republican by the name of Eric Early, thinking we can do the same thing for Eric Early. But it was too late. They're doing. It just kind of sputtered.
But Eric Early was not a famous MLB star for these 2 teams that are in the area.
Against Ron Say at third base, that might have been something, but that is not happening.
While
let me stop that video. So
spent $10 million essentially elevating Steve.
Thank you. A couple of people in the chat gave me the name. I kept saying Karen Bass. I was thinking Karen Bass, but it's Barbara Lee. Barbara Lee is the one that's still in DC. Karen Bass is the one that was in DC, but now she's the LA mayor. Okay, now I got it straight. Now I got it straight. But now take what you heard in this segment on Fox News and also think back to what Katie Porter was saying. Billionaire spent. You're talking about how Adam Schiff got some billions spent to elevate Steve Garvey? But then when you're called out on it, you want to, no, billionaires. Sorry, guys, billionaires. When she got blowback, and I think I might have time to show you that. She got a lot of blowback in said tweet. Let me see if I have it here. I don't think I do. Here's Nick showing her statement on it. This is this. Oh, actually, this is it. Okay, here's the backlash. This new Twitter, when you click on it, it puts the thing to the side. But anyway, please find my statement here. This is the statement that she got the backlash. No, this is the cleanup. I'm sorry. This is the cleanup. And she still got black backlash here. But I think I've read this. Yeah. Okay. I mean, I'll read it again. because I didn't read all of it, so I'll read the entire statement. Rigged means manipulated by dishonest means. A few billionaires spent $10 million on attack ads against me, including an ad rated false by an independent fact checker. Now, that $10 million that she's talking about here and the $10 million that they talked about in the Fox News segment where they said Adam Schiff, you see the connection that she doesn't want to name Adam Schiff as a person. She want to name the people who's giving the money on Adam Schiff's behalf. Goes back, progressive, the most dangerous thing in the Western Hemisphere. That is dishonest means to manipulate an outcome. I said rigged by billionaires because she's want to make sure rigged by billionaires. Make sure you understand. I'm not saying rigged by Democrats, even though it's the same thing. And our politics are in fact manipulated by dark money, something that progressives love to lean on. Defending democracy means calling that out. At no time have I ever undermined the vote count and election process in California, which are beyond reproach. So she wants to make it a point to say, I'm not saying rigged in the sense of MAGA rigged, like Donald Trump is saying rigged. But anyway, that doesn't help. She gets the same backlash in this sort of cleanup part of things. Where did my thing go? And Nick, I'll read what he says. Katie Porter calls out Democrats for rigging the California Senate election. Liberals proceed to have a meltdown in her comments. And that's what he's talking about. And I like this comment here. Note, Katie Porter and Dean Phillips were complicit with the rigging election to candidates like HRC and War Room. Rigging elections to candidates like HRC and Biden against the more progressive Bernie wasn't until the dog turned and bit them that they speak out. Same thing I said earlier. Lesson, injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere. You should speak out regardless if it's you, Katie Porter, and maybe it would not have came and smacked you dab in the face. The RBN main account goes on to say this. Katie Porter complaining about rigged elections is like the getaway driver of a bank robbery complaining about the bank robbery. Katie is part of the team that rigs elections. Like this one too. Quote, Katie Porter met with AIPAC to prepare for a recent junket to Israel and came away from the trip extremely impressed by Benjamin Netanyahu. Will you stop calling her progressive now? Disgusting. I don't think I need to read this article, but Katie Halper also chimed in. Katie Porter is extremely impressed by Netanyahu. I don't know what to say about this except it's an unforced error. And Katie Porter is totally out of step with progressive members of Congress. Embarrassing, really. Now, I think Katie Halper is being a little bit easier on her. Because largely the people who are progressive, and I think Katie Halper is a progressive, or she would call herself a progressive, but people who are progressive generally like Katie Porter. So I would think Katie Halper has an affection for Katie Porter, but disagrees with her on this. Let's go to the next thing. Yeah. Oh, that is the last of the Katie Porter sucks receipts. And I'll leave you with this about Katie Porter, really Jen Perelman too. And that is they both fall in the category of progressives, aka liberals, and they fall in the category of what I spoke with the main oops, I gotta get my notes. Hang on a second here, everybody. Close the tab. but progressives are the most dangerous thing in the Western Hemisphere, and I would put Jan Perelman and Katie Porter in that category. So Katie, all right. So let's get to this next part here. So we're gonna move on from Katie, and I'm gonna pull up something here. We're gonna go now to the State of the Union protest, but I gotta set it up the right way. Where is it? I'm gonna set it up the right way. Was showing you this clip from Anderson Cooper, was covering the State of the Union yesterday, but this more short little 4-minute segment talks about how important the State of the Union is for Joe Biden going through all his terrible numbers. That'll be the foundation for this next part that we're going to be talking about. Where is it? Which is State of the Union protest. But I am going to start out with here. Biden to build a temporary port on Gaza's coast. Actually, let's do this. State of the Union. I'm going to stay here with State of the Union. This is for my editor's sake. It doesn't change my content. But for my editor's sake, I'm going to keep this because he's going to use this as the title. All right. So State of the Union protest. Now, before we get to the protest, let's set a little bit of foundation. Let's talk about the state of where Biden is. Then we'll get to the importance of the State of the Union protest, and some of the things he said and how ridiculous it was. Let's get to this, though, from Anderson Cooper. Let's hope that it plays well. Let's see.
Bye. Jake, back to you.
Thanks, Dana. Let's get more now on those protests against President Biden, specifically.
All right, so I'm going to refresh this. Anytime it sits for a while, it does that. When I start to play it, like when I have it prepared and then, let me get to it. And it's been sitting and I hit play, it does that. Plays for 2 seconds, then it has that buffer. Then plays for 2 seconds, and it have that buffer. Not sure why, but let's get back to it now. It should play fine now. I'm gonna fast forward it though to the part that we need to get to, and it happened to be right after an interview with Bernie Sanders, and then it goes to the segment. So let's play.
So I think the president's point is an important one.
Senator, thank you so much. Appreciate you stopping by.
Thank you.
Jake, back to you.
Thanks, Dana. Let's get more now on those protests against President Biden, specifically against his handling of the Israel-Hamas war and his support for Prime Minister Netanyahu. CNN's Gabe Cohen is right now at a demonstration near the Capitol. Gabe, tell us what's going on.
So, Jake, what you're seeing behind me are dozens of ceasefire protesters standing just a block or two away from the Capitol. They have shut down Pennsylvania Avenue, this major road, what they believe could be the motorcade route for President Biden as he makes his way from the White House to the Capitol for the State of the Union speech. Now, of course, they know it is unlikely that they would actually stop the motorcade. They considered this more of a symbolic protest. They wanted to block this road to, again, keep up that pressure campaign against the president. As those uncommitted votes are happening across the country, they felt like this was the biggest platform where they could make a statement to the president, actually block his route to come and speak in front of Congress. But as we turn the camera around, you can see what's waiting for them here, Jake. There is a huge police presence, a line of officers. We haven't seen any arrests yet, but it looks like they are getting ready to start taking people into custody. It would likely be a misdemeanor charge. But look, Jake, these are people who have said they are ready to be arrested. They are here to make a statement. Some of them have been arrested several times throughout these protests that we've seen here in D.C. and around the country.
All right, Gabe, thanks so much. We're going to keep tabs on these protests as they continue. Let's go now to John King, however, right now at the Magic Wall. John, tell us what hurdles President Biden faces with voters who might be tuning in to watch him tonight.
It's a very long list, Jake. The president delivers this speech at a historic low. If you look at it, number one, this is the map
from 2020. The president, 244 days from now, wants to recreate this map. He wants to win a second term. Let's walk through, as you mentioned, though, some of the obstacles. Here's one of them right here, the president's approval rating, personal approval rating. Often the North Star, you judge an incumbent president seeking re-election. What's the approval rating? He's below 40 right now. That's near his all-time low at 38%. When he gave that first address to Congress, not technically a State of the Union, right after the inauguration, he was at 57. So he is nearly 20 points down from when he began his term.
Terrible.
And it's a huge problem for the president. So let's put that into historical context for you. Forgive me for turning my back. I just want to stretch this out. Look at these recent past presidents, where they were at this point, heading into the re-election year. Ronald Reagan was at 55%. He won. George W. Bush at 51%. He won. George H.W. Bush at 43%. He was a one-term president. He was at 43%.
43%.
Joe Biden's at 38%. Barack Obama was at 45% and he won. Clinton at 56% and he won. Donald Trump, 10 points higher than Joe Biden is right now, and he lost. So you look at that 38%.
What does that mean? Like, the low point has always been Jimmy Carter. We have a new record holder. Now the low point is Joe Biden. And it's very suspicious to me, not suspicious, but very curious to me. And I was talking to my wife about this. How with these numbers, the way they are, the way they talk about Joe Biden on Morning Joe and all these shows is as if he's winning. It is so bizarre, but they don't cover the polls ever. Or they cover it jokingly, like laughing and stuff like that. The point being, Joe Biden is at 38%. Donald Trump lost, and he had 10 points higher than what Joe Biden is right now. And George H.W. was at 43%. Bill Clinton was at 53%. And Ronald Reagan was at 55%. So right now, it's not looking good for Joe Biden. But let me rewind 15 seconds and play.
And he won. George H.W. Bush at 43%. He was a one-term president. He was at 43%. Joe Biden's at 38%. Barack Obama was at 45% and he won. Clinton at 56% and he won. Donald Trump, 10 points higher than Joe Biden is right now, and he lost. So you look at that 38%. Most political pros tell you you at least need to get close to Obama. Get into the mid-40s and you have a chance to win. At 38%, it's incredibly bleak, and that's where the president is at the moment. Why? Because people simply do not believe they have been helped by the Biden agenda. Look at this stunning number in the New York Times Siena College poll from the weekend. Fewer than 20%, 18% of the American people, registered voters, think Joe Biden's policies have helped them personally.
That's 2 out of 10.
That has to be a gut punch to the president. 43% think it hurt them. That's a huge challenge tonight. Try to convince the American people what he's doing has actually helped them. Again, the economy. There are a lot of great statistics when it comes to the economy. Joe Biden will say tonight he's a record job creator. That's a fact. He will say that the stock market's doing pretty well. That's a fact. But this is what people feel. Cost of living. Food and goods. Are you very concerned about the cost of food and consumer goods? A year ago, 75% said yes. It's down a bit, Jake, but only to 72% now. Housing. This is hurting the president. A year ago, 60% said they were very concerned about the cost of housing. That's up a bit to 64%. If there's one.
This is it. This is why the polls say what they say about the economy, even though the typical markers that indicate, or we've been told by capitalists indicate a good economy, are here. Just today it came out that he added a good amount of jobs. What I'm loving about this dynamic, about this time, about this in particular, is that the disconnect, what they call a disconnect, this is showing, it is illustrating, it's putting a spotlight on the markers that determine a good economy have nothing to do with the economy. Has nothing to do with workers' opinion of the economy. Stock market, that is a gauge of rich people. Even GDP, even the unemployment rate is something for owners also, because owners want to know about their employment rate. So all of these markers have nothing to do with the actual spender of money, the worker. And that's what's being shined a spotlight, that these typical markers don't mean anything. why isn't a marker to determine the economy the buying power of the average worker? Meaning, how far does a dollar go for the average worker? That should be a marker. But let's continue with what he's saying. Oops, did I click it?
There's one silver lining. Look at the drop in concerns, very concerned about the cost of gas and energy. That is down a bit from a year ago. One bright spot. But here, these cost of living concerns still are hurting.
To go from 6 and 10 to 5 and 10?
Another issue that is just crushing him is this, the immigration issue. Again, these numbers are stunning when you look at them. How's the government doing with migrants at the southern border? 18% of Americans.
Looking at these numbers explain why the Democratic Party have decided to go full Trump at the border. And even in his speech, and we'll cover a little bit of that when we get to the part of how he calls out undocumented people, illegal aliens, taking the language of conservatives. But let's continue.
Of Americans say a good job. 80% say a bad job. And this is where it's hard for the president. 73% of Democrats say he's doing a bad job. Even his own party doubts about his leadership. 89% of Republicans say that. So, Jake, if you look at this map, and if the president wants to have any hope of recreating this map, this number here and this line has to start going up. And that journey has to start tonight.
It's a big challenge. John King, thanks so much. We're
And
going to
you
get our
guys-
very first look inside the House
And
chamber.
you guys have begun the mass propaganda campaign about that speech and what he's going to be delivering. Oh, this is great. Look at he's back now. That's what is completely unbearable to watch corporate media right now. From morning, every single show, the entire show was about the State of the Union and what he's and the good things that he was saying. Unwatchable. Oh, we can move on now to the next part of this presentation, which is the same thing, protests, but we're now going to go on the ground. So they briefly talked about the protests in that segment there, but now we go to on the ground coverage. People like Chuck Modi was on the ground taking video, and I got a bunch of his videos here to show about the protest. This is the DC protest that forced. Now, if you watched the State of the Union last night, it started late. Joe Biden got there late. He got there late because they blocked, meaning this protest blocked, the normal route. So the president had to take a different route that made him late, I should say, to getting to Congress. So let's watch a couple of clips that Chuck put out and comment.
We're out here today because we will not allow Joe Biden to whitewash his legacy, and we need everyone in the United States and the world to know that Joe Biden's legacy is genocide, it is war, it is militarism, and we will not be silent. We do not stand with Joe Biden. We will not vote for Joe Biden if he continues to fund and arm genocide.
What is your response to the people who say he's trying to send humanitarian aid? What is your response
That's
to that?
bullshit. That's bullshit. How can you send humanitarian aid and weapons at the same time? He's just trying to win the favor of liberal American people in order to get reelected. He has all the power in the world to end the genocide, and he won't because he doesn't want to, because Israel is an American imperialist outpost, and his interest is in imperialism and in wealth and in empire, and his interest is not in people, his interest is not in humanity, and if it were, then he would have called for a permanent ceasefire and an end to the Israeli occupation 152 days ago, years ago.
Spot on by this young lady at the protest. I think that's going to play it's going to play again once I go up here. Let me turn the sound off. How about I just do this and pause it? So it doesn't. All right, there we go. Let's go to this next one. All right, that's just a quote from her. That's not Chuck, so I don't need to read it. That's a quote because we heard it in the video. Let's go to this next one. They shut down Pennsylvania Avenue outside of Capitol with giant Palestinian flag. Let's play this video of the protest.
Joe
let's pause it there. You saw that one, that large flag, the chanting. This is earlier in the night because it's a lot more packed. It gets a lot more packed. But let's go now to this one. Okay, same thing. Shut down protesters on Pennsylvania Avenue. Let's listen. Is this the same one? No. 15.
1, 2. Genocide! When I say genocide, you say go! Genocide! Genocide! Free, free Palestine!
Free Palestine. Genocide, Joe. That's what they're chanting. Now let's go. Oops. Did I pause it? Yeah. Now let's go to the next one. Now this one is from Suleiman Ahmed. I think, yeah, Sabby had him on her show. He tweets a lot of stuff. It's a big account. He tweets a lot of good stuff. And let's watch this. Now look at the amount of people this protest. And I think in one of the the Jake Tapper news clip that we went to, was that Jake Tapper? Yeah, that was Jake Tapper news clip. Yeah, that we went to. I think the person that was reporting from the protest said there was a couple of dozen people there. Does that look like a couple of dozen people on your screen? Let's watch.
Us, we do not agree that corporations get to have more rights than us and the people in Gaza. Shame! 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 Criminal! Criminal! When I say genocide, you say go! Genocide! Go! Genocide! Go! When I say genocide, you say go! Genocide! Go! Genocide! Go!
No more money for Israel's crime! No more money for Israel's crime!
Genocide! Free, free Palestine! Free Palestine!
I like to hear the chants. That's why I'm not commenting over it. I do like to hear the chants.
Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
Could you imagine being a cop right now? You be a cop there, you're preventing the people who want to stop the killing. How do you not see that as a police officer down there? The people are saying stop killing people, and you are there to hold those people back. Fucking. Anyway. Fucking cops. All right, that's the same video. Yeah, that's the same video there. So that's some of the protest. Now I want to get into oops. What was the other part? Yeah. Is this it? Yes. All right. So let's get to this next part of this presentation here. We're going to start with this video from Democracy Now! Let's listen. I don't think any preface is needed. They're talking about the protests at the State of the Union. And I want to start here because there's a lot of good information, and then I'm going to scroll down and start from the bottom. But let's start with this video here. Let's play. Actually, another video. 1 second, everybody. Making sure there's not another video here. Thought there was 2 versions of this, but anyway, let's play it now.
And your response to this idea of setting up a port. First, it was airdropping food. But it's as if it's a natural catastrophe, like an earthquake or a tornado or a hurricane, where you have to ensure that somehow people get food. But it is a U.S. ally who the U.S. is arming, Israel.
Yeah, President Biden is effectively holding a gun to Palestinians' heads and shooting at them with one hand and throwing crumbs at them with the other hand. And he wants us as American people to focus only on the crumbs that he's throwing. Meanwhile, we are saying and have been saying, President Biden, drop the gun. It is absurd to frame these deaths as though they are just collateral damage and not an intentional strategy of ethnic cleansing by the Israeli state.
And that's, I kind of alluded to that yesterday when I was covering or a couple of days ago when I was covering a segment with Dana Bash. I was like, it's this Western chauvinist countries. This is what they do. They go, stuff that is obviously a lie, they go, well, Western countries said is this, even though it's an obvious lie. Like saying you're not trying to kill civilians at the same time you're bombing like a refugee camp. Like saying you're not trying to kill civilians, but you're about to go into southern Gaza and destroy and kill hundreds of people if they do this this next step in their military campaign in Gaza. So Joe Biden, and in this video, she talks about Joe Biden wanting to build a port. This lady you see on the screen, she gave the State of Genocide address. So you can look that up, State of Genocide address, which is a response to the State of the Union address. Check it out. Now, I want to read this. This is from Lee Camp, and this is a great point. Special message from President Biden. Palestinians, sorry, we've funded, armed, and facilitated Israel's genocide against you. We won't stop spinning bombs or sending bombs to be dropped on you, but we will build a dock for boats to bring you food while you're bombed. God bless America. That's effectively, and this lady, what's her name? Iman is her name in this video. She effectively said the same thing. Joe Biden is arming the people who's committing the genocide and throwing the Palestinians crumbs at the same time. Just a headline, breaking, Biden will announce a plan for a temporary port on Gaza's coast to increase the flow of humanitarian aid. Do you know how long it would take to build a port? So while this is being built, how many people will be killed? How many more people will starve while this port is taking 3, 4, 5 weeks to build? Crystal Ball also chimes in. She says, actually, let me read the original that she quote tweets from. Breaking, Biden will announce at his State of the Union speech that he ordered the U.S. military to conduct an emergency mission to establish a temporary port in Gaza that will open up maritime routes for humanitarian assistance from Syria. U.S. officials, hold on a second here. Something I just thought of. What's happening near the coast of Gaza? Isn't the Houthis doing something in what's the name of that area? It's a route for commercial ships that the Houthis is preventing anybody who's supporting Israel from coming through. If the United States build a port off the coast of Gaza, is that really going to be used to fight against Yemen and the Houthis? Like, why would they build something in the ocean that's that close to this area and not take advantage of that? Just something to think about. I don't have any articles or anything like that to back that up. Just something I just thought of right now. Now, Crystal Ball quote tweeted the guy and said, I see what what I see, we are once again opting for a risky, expensive, ineffective boondoggle instead of just ending the bombing. The idiocy is only surpassed by the moral bankruptcy. And I must say, this is one of the few times I do agree with every word from Crystal Ball here. I was going down. So let's go to the next one. Here is just this another headline. Biden to announce U.S.-led mission to build port in Gaza across to a coast to boost aid. Here is some more. This is Asal Rad. She comes on Nick's show, Nick at Night. You've seen her as a guest multiple times. Actually, let me read what she says first. The problem is not boosting aid. It's the fact that Israel is preventing aid into Gaza and starving people as a weapon of war. Just imagine this. Your ally is starving people. Your ally is not willing to let you bring in trucks to save these people. So you have to build a port because the person who you call an ally that you fund is refusing to do this. Not buying it. Not buying it. Let's listen. I'm sorry. Let me finish reading what she says. Gaza, into Gaza and starving people as a weapon of war. Biden has the power to stop Israel. Instead, he quietly sends more weapons. It's a choice, and this is a public stunt. The building of a port, that's a public stunt that he needed something huge for the State of the Union and all the protesters. He needed something for that. This is it, but it's pretty bogus and nonsense. And as everybody is calling out from Crystal Ball to Assad, let's watch this.
Endless numbers of trucks waiting here at the border in Rafah to go into Gaza. That is starving. These trucks are badly needed inside, and they're not moving because the system is completely broken. It's been so since the beginning. Not one day has there been the 500 trucks crossing into Gaza that is needed from Rafah and over Kerem Shalom.
So these trucks are literally sitting at the border while thousands of people across the border are starving to death, including kids. These people are... Let's continue. I'm going to read this one. I'm going to read a little bit of this one. Fuck, I hate when it does that. Anyway. All right, so I'm going to read a little bit of this. Let me go back one. Click it. One step here. Oops, 2 steps here. Go forward now. Clicked it one too many times. I did want to read what Aaron Mate says here. Israel, with U.S. support, is blocking thousands of trucks, and you saw some of those trucks in the video we just played, from delivering aid into Gaza's death camp. Rather than force Israel to stop the blockade, Biden is deploying hundreds of U.S. troops to build a port that will take weeks to complete and deliver a fraction of the aid. Truly despicable. Let's go to the article just to read a little bit from it. This is truly, but like I said, progressives, liberals, neoliberals, these are the most dangerous people in the Western Hemisphere. Biden announced U.S. military aid. Biden to announce U.S. military-led mission to build port on Gaza coast to boost aid. I'm going to see if there's an update on this, but I'm going to read a little bit. Oh, here we go again with this whole thing. Biden will announce during his State of the Union address Thursday that he is directing the U.S. military to lead the construction. Lead is not just the U.S. military, but to lead the construction of a port along the coast of Gaza on the Mediterranean Sea to boost the amount of aid getting to Palestinian civilians. I don't need to read that. But the quote: the port would be able to receive large ships that can bring in food, water, medicine, and other supplies into Gaza, which has been under fire for months as Israeli forces carry out shelling and military operations in response to Hamas's attack last October. Biden will direct the U.S. military to undertake the mission alongside allies and humanitarian partners, a senior administration said. The project will take a number of weeks to plan and execute and will involve forces already in the region that will be there soon. Senior administration officials said the project will not require any U.S. boots on the ground in Gaza. Instead, the plan involves U.S. personnel on military vessels offshore who will not be required to go on ashore to install the port. Man, so weeks to construct, and then you're just going to be taken in a fraction, while trucks are literally sitting on the outside of the border near Rafah. I think it said in Rafah or near Rafah. I can't remember. Let's go back to to Twitter for the presentation. So, I meant to check and see if there was an update in the story. So, let me see if there's an update in the story. Give me one moment. I still have it pulled up on the other side. Okay. No, I don't see any updates. Yeah, I don't. I don't see any updates. So we're just going to assume that's the latest. I mean, it's nothing new. He announced it yesterday in the State of the Union. I can't imagine anything has moved forward on it, especially since that this is just virtue signaling. This is just throwing some crumbs, not really doing what it really can do. And I want to move and stay in the same thing as far as aid and go to their last aid attempt. And their last aid attempt, if you haven't heard, listen to this. U.S. aid, the airdrop, U.S. aid drops kill at least 3 civilians in Gaza. So I'm going to play this video, then I'm going to get to the article. And that stuff that killed these people and the stuff they're sending was expired food. A killed civilian in northern or northwest Gaza. This is a very... Oh, they're showing the drops right there. That's what they're showing. Yeah, that would hit somebody. That would hit and hurt somebody. Man, this is crazy. What is happening over there in Gaza? The United States is funding this. This is from The Guardian. Gaza aid airdrop kills civilian with parachute fails to open. Witness says. So, yeah. Oh, God. Can you imagine that dropping down without a parachute and landing on somebody? Well, you don't have to imagine because it did. Let's go to the article. And this is from, again, The Guardian. Right here. All right. Headline says, so the other headline said 3 from the Cradle, but it's been updated. 5 killed and 10 injured in Gaza aid airdrop when parachute fails to open. I'll read a little bit. 5 people have been killed. Oh, actually, let me change the banner to make sure it shows right for the editor here. Where is it? Joe Biden, not that one. Oops. Not that one. Let's see here. Maybe I don't have it. Charles Barkley. Yeah, maybe I don't have it. All right, so let's go back and read a little bit. Oops. All right, 1 second. I need to plug in my charger, and I think I did. Yeah, all right, it's plugged in. All right, so let's read. I'm going to start over from the beginning. 5 people. Let me make this a little bit larger. 5 people have been killed and 10 injured in Gaza when they were hit by a pallet of aid parachuted into the territory as part of an humanitarian airdrop. Witnesses said the accident happened on Friday morning near the coastal refugee camp known as Al-Shita, one of the most devastated parts of Gaza, after a parachute attached to the pallet failed to deploy properly and the partials fell on a group of men, teenagers, and young children hoping to obtain food and other supplies. Several 100,000 people are facing famine in northern Gaza, where they live amongst the ruins of their homes without sewage, electricity, or any other basic service. The casualties were taken to Gaza City's Al-Shifa hospital. The emergency room head nurse, Mohammed, said, a witness from the camp said he and his brother had followed the parachuted aid in the hope of getting a bag of flour. Then, all of a sudden, the parachute didn't open and fell down like a rock on the roof of one of the houses, said Mohammed. Quote, 10 minutes later, I saw people transferring 3 martyrs and others injured who were staying on the roof of the house where the aid package fell. The U.S. and Jordan are among the countries to have carried out airdrops in northern Gaza, where hundreds of thousands of people are facing dire conditions after more than 5 months of war. Killed by food as you're starving. Just terrible, man. This empire is something else. And they don't care. They don't care. Nothing new. Let's pivot to, am I pivoting? Yeah. Let's go back to Twitter for some more receipts here. Let's see, where was I? Here, we were on airdrops. But let's move on to the next thing now. Let me look at my notes here and see where we are in the presentation here. Weapons. There we go. All right, so we're staying on Joe Biden, and we're staying on Israel, and we're staying on him being a genocidal maniac. Let's go to the next part here, which is Biden sending secret weapons. Here's the headline. Biden made 100 secret arms sales to Israel during Gaza genocide, but he wants to build a port off the coast of Gaza. Truly clown shit. Let's continue. Ooh, I gotta close some of these tabs here. All right. I'll read along the side. This is from Mint Press News. Since the beginning of Israel's genocide of Gaza on October 7th, U.S. President Joe Biden has covertly approved more than 100 weapon sales to Gaza. Only 2 U.S. military sales to Israel have been publicly disclosed during this period. $106 million worth of tank ammunition and $147.5 million of component essentials for manufacturing 155 millimeter shells. This guy is terrible. Anyway, let's move on. Here is Abby Martin saying, Biden. Let me just open this in the background while I read this here. Oops. Add a pop-up. I know you can't see it. Abby Martin says Biden used a loophole to secretly deliver more than 100 separate weapons to Israel since October. Genocide Joe is personally overseeing the most egregious war crimes in modern history. That's Abby Martin. Let's now go to that article that she posted here. Where is this one from? This is also, oh no, this one is from Common Dream. Unconscionable. Biden has approved 100 plus arms sales to Israel in just 5 months. So you're talking 20 a month. 5 months into 100, that's 20 a month. So basically all he took was weekends off. 20 days in a month, isn't that Monday through Friday 4 times? So for the entire month, that means Biden is approving sales to Israel Monday through Friday every day for 5 months. But then he wants to build a port and get credit for that. If you people who voted uncommitted vote for this fucking jackass in November, you are truly a clown. When people ask, what do you want Joe Biden to do? The answer is stop making these weapons deals, said one campaigner. The Biden administration has approved more than 100 separate weapons sales to the Israeli government since its massive assault on the Gaza Strip began 5 months ago. Transfers that did not require congressional notification because they were each below a certain dollar amount. This is the reason why it has to be 100, because he has to do small dollar amounts so he doesn't have to tell anybody. Why are you doing small dollar amounts so people don't know? Why don't you want people to know you sending them weapons? The Washington Post reported Wednesday that the sales, which were disclosed to lawmakers during a recent classified briefing, included thousands of precision-guided munitions, small diameter bombs, bunker busters, small arms, and other lethal aid. You so used to seeing that word with weapon. Quote, only 2 approved foreign military sales to Israel have been made public since the start of the conflict. 106 million worth of tank ammunitions and 147.5 million of components needed for shells, the Post added. Quote, those sales invited public scrutiny because the Biden administration bypassed Congress to approve the packages by invoking an emergency authority. A former senior Biden administration official and the current president of the Refugee International told the newspaper that the number of sales the administration had approved over such a short period of time is extraordinary, and it suggests that the Israeli campaign would not be sustainable without the level of U.S. support. So a genocide can't happen without Joe Biden doing these secret weapons transfers, these secret weapons sales. They're not sustainable. They don't have enough weaponry to do this. Truly amazing. Quote, the U.S. cannot maintain that. On the one hand, Israel is a sovereign state that's making its own decisions, and we're not going to second guess them. And on the other hand, transfer this level of armament in such a short time and somehow act as if we are not directly involved. Weapons to a government starving and displacing millions of civilians. Weapons to an army that has killed 25,000 women and children. That's what Joe Biden is doing. He's supplying weapons to that government. News of the secretive arms sales comes as human rights advocates and progressive lawmakers such as Bernie Sanders are pressing the Biden administration to cut off all military aid to Israel, pointing to U.S. law and White House policy barring the transfer of weapons to human rights violators. These people are depraved. These people have no conscience. But progressives will tell you the people with no conscience, we can talk them into giving us Medicare for all. Absurd. Let's go back to Twitter. I'm trying to get through all of these things in the time frame that I have. So let's go out of this one. Let's see. Oops. I guess I got to click it this way. Now, I think this sums up most of the Biden coverage. Yeah. All I have left now is the Charles Barkley story and the D.L. Hughley story. So let's start with the D.L. Hughley story. And that's D.L. Hughley versus DJ Khaled. And I'm going to start with D.L. Hughley's video first. And this is where I got it from. Is this Sana that came on? Oh, no, this is a different Sana. Not the one that came on that was part of the CNN panel. That's not the same one. All right, so let's go to D.L. Hughley calls out. All right, so I think I haven't checked. Let me read this super chat before I move on. Got one. Generational cringe. That's a better than generational change. Thank you, Kales Jones. Generational cringe. And I absolutely agree with that. Make sure you hit that like button. We still have a target on YouTube to get to 800 is the target. So if you hit that like button to get us to 800, much appreciated. Also, check out our Substack and website. Here's our website here. Scrolling right there. Scrolling. I'm giving you time to take it down. And here's our Substack right here. If you want to know when we go live, you want to get notification when we go live, join our Substack. And then again, hit that like button, get us to 800 likes is the target. Now, let's get in to these last two segments. This one, D.L. Hughley calls out DJ Khaled over Palestine. Now, if you didn't know, DJ Khaled is a pretty famous DJ. Worked with all the major artists from literally Rihanna, Rick Ross, Jay-Z. I mean, I'm missing a ton of people. Mick Mills. I mean, all the rappers that you would know, he has worked with them. Lil Wayne. Let me read the tweet first. This is such an incisive critique by D.L. Incisive critique by D.L. Hughley. I said hugely is how I spelled it. So I'll fix that in a second. While it's of DJ Khaled, a Palestinian American, it applies to many, especially to the Arab and Muslims in Hollywood. What it tells people is that someone who looks like them doesn't care, so why should you? That's the quote that stands out. And let's play, and I'll correct his name in a second here. Let's play it. Here. Oh, go again. Click it, and then it just stops playing. All right, let's see if I can get it to play this time. Here we go.
Not to go up, like I watch, for instance, DJ Khaled. I don't have any problem with any man who's been very successful. enjoying himself. But you have to and I don't know what's in somebody's heart. I do know what's on their post. I don't know what's in your head. I know what's on your timeline. So I'll see you exalting God when you make a shot, right? But I'll watch a 7-year-old Palestinian boy who is praying to God for the strength to bear that his family had been killed. I'll watch you pray to not hit a bunker. And then I will watch a Palestinian family pray that they can find one. And you know, we are all people and everybody can do what they can do. But when I watch you have grown men carry you so you don't f your Jordans, we're used to Palestinians being carried. They're just not alive, they're dead. And they don't have shoes, they don't even have feet. And so to me, you have gone from DJ Khaled to DJ Callous. You cannot be so oblivious that you forget that the images that you are portraying have an equal and opposite effect. And what it tells people is that somebody that looks like them doesn't care. Why should you?
So you just said you get nervous or scared, but yet you just said the thing that not one person in the industry is called out. And I saw the video.
So they go into, because I saw the rest of it, and it's not all on DJ Khaled. That's the reason why I only played this particular part, and I think I want to play it again. I'm going to come back to it in just a second here. But first, I want to show this meme, and I want to show the video that he's referring to. This is a meme, and that's DJ Khaled, and it says, "I'm Palestinian, but my career is much more important than those kids." And let's go to this part. Now let's watch this. This is the video that they're talking about. Grown men catch it. I think this is it. Hold on a second. I've watched so many videos and I got another one. Let me make sure that's it. Let me just play it.
I don't want to get my Jordans dirty.
Oh, yeah,
can I get everybody to help me? Please, everybody help me.
Get on the side.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
You want to get in the back?
Can't mess up the chase. I'm performing live right now.
I'm gonna let it play again. Look at this.
I don't want to get my Jordans dirty. Can I get everybody to help me? Please, everybody help me.
Get on the side.
You know how much that car costs?
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
You want to get in the back?
Can't mess up the chase. I'm performing live right now.
This is truly clown shit from this guy. It's worlds of difference between Americanized Palestinians like this guy and the Palestinians that are suffering, the Palestinians that are in solidarity with them. It's so different, such a different thing. Let's now go back and now, since we've seen the video, let's watch it now that we know the video he's talking about.
Not to go like I watch, for instance, DJ Khaled. I don't have any problem with any man who's been very successful enjoying himself. But you have to and I don't know what's in somebody's heart. I do know what's on their post. I don't know what's in your head. I know what's on your timeline. So I'll see you exalting God when you make a shot, right? But I'll watch a 7-year-old Palestinian boy who is praying to God for the strength to bear that his family had been killed. I'll watch you pray to not hit a bunker. And then I will watch a Palestinian family pray that they can find one. And you know, we are all people and everybody can do what they can do. But when I watch you have grown men carry you so you don't f your Jordans, we're used to Palestinians being carried. They're just not alive, they're dead. And they don't have shoes, they don't even have feet. And so to me, you have gone from DJ Khaled to DJ Callous. You cannot be so oblivious that you forget that the images that you are portraying have an equal and opposite effect. And what it tells people is that somebody that looks like them doesn't care. Why should you?
So you just said
Let's get to some other receipts here. this, not that one, this receipt here, because he speaks about Palestine years ago. So let's see where Larry King has to almost force him to comment. And he barely says anything. Let's listen.
How do you get involved politically in the Middle East?
I get involved with the peace. You know what I'm saying? Meaning as I'm all about peace. I'm all about.
What the fuck does that mean? I get involved with the peace. Do you get involved with the genocide? Do you get involved with the apartheid state? What peace is happening, DJ Khaled? What peace is happening in Gaza? What peace is happening in Palestine?
How do you get involved politically in the Middle East?
I get involved with the peace. You know what I'm saying? Meaning as I'm all about peace. I'm all about unity. I'm all about love, and I want my people, you know, to always be good.
Here's what puzzles me. I've been to the West Bank.
Right.
I love the people there.
Yeah.
I'm Jewish. You're Palestinian.
Yes.
We're cousins.
Yeah.
You know, we go back to Isaac and Esau. We go back a long way.
No, you don't.
Why can't we get together?
Ashkenazi Jews.
I wish I had the answer, but I look at it in my eyes, I don't see why it's a problem because I'm sitting here with you right now.
No problem.
Me and you have no problem.
None.
I respect you, you respect me, and that's how life should be. You know what I'm saying? I think it's more you know, out of our hands. You know what I'm saying? But that's why I come here you got to promote peace. And it needs more people like me to say, yo, let's come together. Let's do some things. Let's show people where we can come together. And I think we're doing that by being here. I think people do that every day by doing business. I think, you know, a lot in America, people come together. Why can't that happen over there?
Are you bitter about the hostility?
Why can't they happen over there?
Between the two?
I have to be bitter at anything that's going to hurt my people. You know what I'm saying? I would never want my people to be hurt. So at the same time, it's like, you know, all I can do is pray every day for peace.
You think we'll ever have a two-state?
That's all you can do is pray every day for peace. Do you pray before or after being carried by grown men? What is that before? What does that fit in your schedule?
State in existence?
I think so. And the reason why, for peace.
You think we'll ever have a two-state in existence?
I think so. And the reason why I think so, because I got to have faith. I got to have hope. You know what I'm saying? That's the way I am. So I'm going to be positive about it.
Oh, man, these people are just terrible. How spineless must you be? You have millions already in the bank. They're not going to come to your bank account and take your money,
how
bro.
do you get involved politically in the Middle East?
Say anything. Here's DJ Khaled's cousin saying pretty much how he's cut off because he's bullshitting. Now, it's very quick, but within the first split second, the guy on the left in the shades says the name DJ, and he says it with the appropriate accent. So you got to listen right in the beginning.
Khaled. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, you know, everyone has their reasons, but there's no reasons, there's no excuse when you're actually a Palestinian. You know what I mean? And
he's talking about his
for me,
cousin,
my mother
DJ
lives
Khaled.
there. You know what I mean? We're from the same village, same families. So like, there's no excuse. And right now, my heart and dedication is everything with Palestine. And I go there a lot. Like I said, my mother lives there. I do a lot of charity work with a lot of refugee camps there. I do a lot of fundraisers to raise money for Gaza and all the refugees and outside of Gaza in the West Bank. Khaled. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, you know,
So
everyone has their
his
reasons,
cousin,
but
they from the same
there's no
village
reason.
back home. His cousin and his mom still stays out there. I wonder what's happening with his mom. Hopefully his mom is okay. But this is him trying not to completely destroy his cousin, but being critical of him lightly. Let's just say it that way. I think that's the last one. Let me make sure I did not skip anything here. So this is the segment. DL Hughley goes after DJ Khaled. I think that's how somebody said it earlier for me to say it. But there's one more that I missed. Oh, right here. Charles Barkley, the coon. So we're gonna play a couple of videos here. That one. Oh, this is the same. Okay, this is the same video. All right, so we're gonna play this one. So if you didn't know, on CNN, what's her name? Gayle King and Charles Barkley have a show. It's on CNN. It comes on CNN. It's not completely political, but they talk about politics a lot, but they talk about other stuff too. So let's listen to this. Now, to set this up properly, actually, let me put the right banner up here. To set this up properly, this is he doesn't make the statement, I want to beat up Trump supporters. So I didn't even say that. So Charles Barkley recently said he wants to beat up or punch black Trump supporters. And he said it in a tweet, I believe. And now he's on his show and Gayle King is bringing it up saying, hey, I saw you said this. And they have a short discussion about it. But are you going to beat up these guys? Are you going to punch Mike Tyson? Charles Barkley. That's Mike Tyson with a Trump shirt on. Oh yeah, it was not Trump supporters, black people who wear the Trump mugshot shirt. He wants to punch them. So let's play it.
You say that. That was just you.
He rewinded all the way. Felt like it started.
You say that. That was just you making a point. That's not something you would literally do going around attacking people, right?
Well,
my bad. I played the wrong one. This is the second one. So this was the correct one the first time. 1, 2, 3. Make sure I got the right one here. There's 3. All right, so let's play this one here. My apologies for that. Let's play this one.
And obviously, I'm only speaking for myself. The reason I think the Democratic Party and Mr. Biden, President Biden, is losing black votes is they only care about black people every 4 years. They come into our neighborhoods and say, we're going to make stuff better. We're going to do this, do this, do this. And then finally, us black people are like, man, other than our ability to dunk a basketball, all my neighborhoods are still the same. Our schools are still the same. And that's why I think black people are leaving disappointed in the Democratic Party, because I ain't gonna lie, I voted Democratic every time just because I thought it was gonna help black people and poor people. Because black people and poor white people, they're in the same boat. And I didn't care who the president was, I'm not gonna lie, but I only voted Republican one time in my life, and that was for John Kasich, and I didn't even know he couldn't win. But then I'm starting to look like, man, I understand why black people are leaving, want to vote for somebody else, because every 4 years they come into our neighborhood and say, man, we're going to make things better for you. When Donald Trump compares his plight with that of the black person, that is what I had a problem with. Now, I do want to say this. I want to make it perfectly clear. If you're a black person and you're wearing a Donald Trump mugshot, you are a freaking idiot. And I'm only saying freaking idiot because they won't let me say what I really want to say. But you can figure it out. It starts with an F.
Okay. I wouldn't necessarily just based off that sentence disagree. I would need more information to disagree, and luckily I have that information. Charles Barkley has some nerve to be calling out black people for being conservative after he voted for John Kasich. And this guy is conservative. Charles Barkley. Just like the people in this class. And you heard him say, I didn't really care who was the president. That's because you were making millions, like at 20. That's why you didn't care who was president. Let's go to another video. This is a black Trump supporter. This is his response to Charles Barkley. Of course, all the 6'5", 230-pound black Negroes are coming out saying, what you gonna do, Charles?
Let me give you a brief history lesson. An overseer was a black guy. His job was to keep other black slaves in check. The overseer was fed well. He had free range. He was paid well, had the best women. And his job was to keep other black slaves in check by whipping them, even killing them in front of everybody. That's what an overseer was, and we have overseers today. Charles Barkley was on CNN. He was paid well, and he made a threat to any black guy that will wear a MAGA hat. He will punch them. Charles Barkley is today's overseer.
All of the black bourgeoisie is today's overseer. All of the black bourgeoisie is an overseer. Van Jones, Kamala Harris, these are all overseers. So you had those overseers on the plantation. They were coons. You also had coons who weren't overseers, like you, sir, with your Trump support. So there weren't just one type of coon, one type of house Negro. Not all house Negroes were overseers. Some of them were just like you, just simple house Negroes. This is Mike Tyson. I would love to see Charles Barkley go at Mike Tyson. And Mike Tyson's considerably shorter. Mike Tyson has fought, like most of his fights, he was fighting people taller than him. This guy who's my height, Mike Tyson, maybe an inch taller, half an inch taller, would destroy Charles Barkley today. If you haven't seen him train, he looks the same to me. And I'm not even a Trump supporter at all, but I am a person who don't like the guy said, I don't like these black bourgeoisie people. Gayle King is terrible. Also, Oprah is terrible. All of these people are terrible. LeBron, they all are. Let me see if this is this might have a slightly different part.
Don't mean that.
Oh, I mean that sincerely. I'm gonna just tell you.
How do I make this bigger? Okay, there it goes.
What did you think?
That's
big sigh.
This is the one I clicked. Why is it not opening the right one?
What did you think? Big sigh.
First of all, I'm just gonna say this. If I see a black person walking around with Trump mugshot, I'm gonna punch him in the face.
Charles.
I know, Gail.
Charles.
Gail.
You really can't say that because you don't mean that.
Oh, I mean that sincerely. I'm gonna just tell you something.
And then you will be arrested for assault. And then what?
I'm gonna bail myself out and go celebrate. If I
don't encourage him. Don't encourage him. Okay, but go ahead.
Seriously.
Continue.
First of all, if I was at
that conference,
I'd have got up and walked out. That was an insult to all black people. Because he basically just.
What did you think?
It's so bizarre to me to hear these black bourgeoisie talk about Trump in the way that they should talk about Joe Biden, who tangibly did bad things to the black community with the crime bill. That's a tangible thing, not rhetoric. And the people in the bourgeois class, they always seem to side with rhetoric because rhetoric is public. It's what people talk about. You know what I mean? anyone's to pretend like Donald Trump is a bigger racist than Joe Biden is just simply not being honest. And if they're a black person, they should be punched in the same way that Charles Barkley is saying somebody should be punched. So that's going to do it for our final. That was our last segment. And I tend to, I'm trying to make it a habit that anytime I go through at the end of my stream, I want to bring up and have a short segment called "What's the latest on Twitter?" And I'm a person who still calls it Twitter. That's probably not going to change. What's the latest on Twitter is an actual segment that I want to start. Make sure I'm going to formalize it by giving it this name. So let's see what's happening on Twitter. That's my stream. It's Sabby's birthday. So make sure you say happy birthday to Sabby. It's her birthday today. She is so she hasn't been streaming the last couple of days because she's doing something for her birthday weekend. I think she's in New York. She's from Boston, but she's in New York. Yeah, I saw the post she made earlier. So Sabby's birthday. So make sure you say happy birthday to Sabby if you see her online. Let's see if there's any other breaking news here. This is from Jacobin. Arguments over whether Israelis or Palestinians count as really indigenous. I don't need Jacobin's point on there. So let's not go to Jacobin's point. The Biden doctrine in Gaza: bomb, starve, conceal, deceive. Wow. What article is this? Who is this from? Oh, this is Aaron Mate's article. Oh, wow. So that's Aaron Mate's Substack article. So maybe I'll read that in a second. Looks like Rome is raising money for Tour for the Poor. All right, I don't necessarily see any. Oh, this is Nico House has a child. He's saying, I've been a little ghost lately, but I promise I had a good reason. I'd love to introduce y'all to La Sheesis Deshaun House, Roberto House. Oh, so that's Nico House had a baby. You didn't see. There you go. Well, congratulations, Nico House. What is this? That's an ad. Jimmy Dore Show. Oh, they started like an hour ago. Oh, here's one. I didn't get a chance to, but I did want to play this. This is Dana Bash. Listen to Dana Bash's response to Pramila Jayapal saying 15,000 children have been killed. Dana Bash responds, yeah, but at least the IDF didn't rape them. Yes.
15,000 Palestinians have been killed in Israeli airstrikes, 3/4 of whom are women and children.
And it's horrible, but you don't see Israeli soldiers raping.
Well, Dana, I
Palestinian
think
women.
we're not.
Why would Dana Bash say that as if she's working for AIPAC? You work for CNN. Why would you say that? It shows who these people roll up to. They all roll up to AIPAC. They're all Zionists. She said that on TV. Oh, God. Iran accelerates nuclear program to maximize output. What does Nina Turner say? Donald Trump cannot become president again. That's what the uncommitted vote is about. Showing President Biden in his administration that they must change course. That not doing so puts Democrats at risk in November. Permanent ceasefire now in military aid. That's never going to happen, Nina. And there goes the progressive Democrat not accepting the reality that the party their team up with is not going to do any of the things they want. So what do you do now? This one, what is this one about? Immigration. So that one's on immigration. All right. So I think I've reached the last one. Where's this at? I might go. Aaron Monte is going to be at that event in LA. Maybe I'll go if I have the time to get there. All right, everybody. I think that's it. I'm not really seeing any breaking stories. I think in my feed, if there was any major breaking stories, that I would have seen it by now. But scrolling through, not seeing that. Not seeing any breaking. Oh, but Nick has a new hotspot. So let's watch Nick's hotspot. We're gonna use it as our outro video. Let's see if I have any new super chats. Hit that like button. Make sure you get us to 800 likes. It really helps us, and you don't know how much it does help us with the algorithm. We are being completely destroyed by the algorithm, but we keep going. Oh, wow. Thank you for this generous super chat, $60 super chat from Cat Terrell. Much appreciated. Show some love in the chat for Cat Terrell in the chat. Thank you for that super chat. And like I said, I'm going to end with this video here. If you hit that like button, that would be greatly appreciated. Also, if you have a final comment you want to see on the screen while we end here, make sure to include the city, state, and or country you live in. So if you want to make a comment about Jen Perelman running against Debbie Wasserman's show, Jen Perelman is blah, 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 blah. I'm in London. You want to make a comment about Medicare for all? We could use Medicare all here. I'm in Compton, California. You know what I'm saying? So with your comments, make sure you include your city. Here is Nick with another video. It looks like this is about AIPAC. Let me read the caption actually. What the hell just happened here? I guess it was a hotspot. What a hotspot! I swear Twitter is just yeah. There we go. All righty then. We're gonna play this as our outro video. Is it going to pick up here? And then I'll put up your comments.
Boasting about the fact
I'm gonna
that
start
every single
I'm gonna start it over. I want to shout out a couple of things. Make sure you follow or you join us, or you go visit our website, revolutionaryblackoutnetwork.com. We got lots of great things there. Join our Substack. Also, if you want to know when we go online, when we go live, and when we drop clips. We also email you once a day all of our clips, so you can just go to your email and watch them from the email. Here's our email address if you need to contact us for some reason. And the best way to support us and our editor is becoming a member of Patreon. Our plans start at as low as $3 per month, so $36 a year. If you could afford that, and not everybody can, but if you can and want to be a member, please do. And what's the last thing I wanted to put up there? Merchandise. Make sure you visit our merchandise and you go to our website, click RBN merch. One of our second most popular sell item is the NATO is a terrorist sweatshirt or hoodie. So you can check that out. You can also get that same NATO is a terrorist organization on a mug. You can get it on a tote bag. But go to our website and check that out. Now, let's play the video.
Here is AIPAC boasting about the fact that every single candidate that has been funded by them during this primary cycle and during special elections have won. And this makes sense considering you can predict who wins an election in this country at around a 95% rate based on who has the most money. This is what capitalist dictatorship looks like. This is why AIPAC plans on spending over $100 million to unseat anyone who is mildly critical of their genocide of the Palestinian people. Is this the democracy that liberals claim they are fighting so hard to defend? These motherfuckers were trying to convince us that Russia was trying to hijack our election for posting cringe social media memes. Meanwhile, we have AIPAC giving Democrats millions of dollars to support their genocide that is opposed by the majority of their own party. And these liberals don't even blink an eye. The revolving corruption is truly sickening. Politician runs on giving billions of dollars of unconditioned aid and support to Israel. You know, Israel that has free healthcare and free education? Yeah, we pay for that. After fighting for Israel harder than they fight for their constituents, AIPAC and Zionists then reward said politician with a ton of cash, keeping them in power forever. Then said politician votes to send unconditioned aid to Israel forever. Rinse and repeat. With that said, you guys want to know who took the most AIPAC cash of all time? Genocide Joe Biden. Now do you guys see why Joe Biden was a senator for 40 years and ended up the president of the United States? Our democracy have been completely hijacked by Zionists. They just give you the illusion of choice.
It's true. We are aliens. But what are you going to do about it? It's a two-party system. You have to vote for one of us.
Right, this is a two-party system. Well, I believe I'll vote for a third-party candidate.
Go ahead. Throw your vote away.